Hi there, it's Dave, the founder and developer of the House Flipping Spreadsheet, and this is a quick video tutorial on how to analyze a rehab deal using the Rehab Analyzer. The Rehab Analyzer is a calculator that can be used to analyze your offers and your profitability for your rehab deals. There are two different analysis options for analyzing a deal with the Rehab Analyzer. There's the maximum purchase price analysis option, where you determine the maximum purchase price that you should offer for a property, or there is the profit analysis option, where you calculate the profit in the deal based upon a known purchase price value. Let's first talk about the maximum purchase price analysis option. The purchase price analysis option uses the maximum purchase price formula to determine the maximum purchase price you should offer for a property. The maximum purchase price formula takes your after repair value and subtracts your buying costs, your holding costs, your selling costs, your financing costs, and your estimated repair costs, as well as your profit, to determine the maximum purchase price you should offer for the property. Let's quickly walk you through each component of the maximum purchase price formula. The estimated after repair value is the amount that you feel you can resell the property for after you've made the necessary repairs or improvements to the property to get it into a marketable and resaleable condition. The after repair value is based upon your research and analysis of recent comparable sales in your market area. The fixed cost section includes your buying costs, holding costs, selling costs, and your financing costs. Buying costs are encountered when you first purchase a property, which are typically inspection costs, title insurance costs, title work costs, miscellaneous closing costs, and recording fees. If you have other buying costs outside of the existing list, you can change and customize the existing buying cost items or add in your amounts to the other cell as well. Generally speaking, buying costs tend to range around 1 to 3% of your purchase price. Holding costs are costs associated with holding the property during the rehab and the listing period. These costs are typically loan payments, taxes, utilities, insurance, and just general maintenance expenses. For your holding costs to calculate, you'll first need to set up how many months you will be planning on holding the property. The first cell is where you'll input the number of months it will take to complete the rehab. The next cell is the number of months it will take to sell the property and hand over the keys to the end buyer. Your rehab schedule and the listing period are then used to calculate your total holding period for the property. Next, you'll need to set up your monthly holding costs for your property taxes, utilities, insurance, and maintenance. Once you set up the holding period and the monthly holding costs, the total holding costs are calculated by taking the total holding period in months and multiplying it by the monthly holding costs for each item. The selling costs are the costs associated with selling the property, such as your realtor's commissions, home warranties, title work, and appraisals. Similar to the other fixed cost categories, you can customize the cost item descriptions on the left-hand side to fit your project needs. Generally, selling costs will range anywhere from 6 to 9% of the resale value of the property. The final fixed cost section is financing costs. The financing costs are set up on a separate financing sheet. You can access the financing sheet by clicking the Setup tab on the left-hand side of the financing section. On the financing sheet, you can set up your loans and financing terms, which will be used to calculate your total loan payments and closing costs and points. The total buying costs, holding costs, selling costs, and financing costs are then used to calculate the total fixed costs for the project. Generally, your total fixed costs will be in a range of around 10 to 20% of the after repair value. In the middle of the Rehab Analyzer dashboard, you will find your repair cost information. In the upper right hand corner of the repair estimate section, there's a drop-down menu which has 3 different options for estimating your repair costs. The first option is detailed, which automatically feeds the estimate information from the repair cost estimator. Detailed is the option that you will use if you want to create a detailed scope of work and estimate for your project. The next option is Quick Bid. Quick Bid allows you to quickly input estimated values for each scope of work directly into the Rehab analyzer. So you could plug in $5,000 for roofing, $8,000 for cabinets, $3,000 for appliances, and really create a quick estimate for your project. The final option is Lump Sum. Lump Sum allows you to input one lump sum number for the entire project. So if you just wanted to plug $50,000 in the estimate, for example, you could do that directly in the Rehab Analyzer cell. Once you set up and complete your estimate, you will want to review your estimate adders. The adders section is where you can add in additional costs for your location, building permits, your contractor's overhead and profit, and estimating contingencies. The location multiplier adder can be used to adjust your repair cost estimate by your location. If you click the location multiplier link, a sidebar will open with common location multipliers for major U.S. markets. Find the location multiplier that best represents your market and input the value into the location multiplier cell. The location multiplier will then be multiplied by your subtotal estimate to calculate the additional cost for your particular market. If your project will have any kind of structural repairs or plumbing, HVAC, or electrical work, it is very likely that you will need to get a building permit. First, check with your local building department to see if a building permit actually is required. If a building permit is required, they will generally cost about 1 to 2% of the project value, but you can check with your local building department to get their fee schedules for the exact prices. The costs included in the estimator are based upon you self-managing the contractors for your projects. But if you're going to be hiring a general contractor to manage the project, then you will need to include around 10 to 15% to pay for the contractor's overhead and profit. Estimating contingency is used to cover any kind of unforeseen risks or budget issues that may arise on the project. And this is usually to cover those unforeseen repairs that you haven't anticipated and maybe those items that you've under budgeted. Estimating contingency can vary widely depending on the risks on the project and your comfort level with the scope of work and estimated costs. If you're an investor that has a strong construction and estimating background and are comfortable with the scope of work, you may not include any contingency at all, or maybe you'll include as little as 5%. But however, if you are not familiar with construction or estimating costs and are not comfortable with your scope of work for the project, well, first, it's important to get a contractor and get contractor feedback to minimize those risks. But secondly, you need to include contingency to cover your estimate, and this could be anywhere from 25% up to 40%. Once you've reviewed your adders, your total adders percentage and your total adders amount are calculated and added to your subtotal estimate to calculate your total estimate for the project. The final step in analyzing the maximum purchase price is to set up the profit that you want to make on the project. You can input a lump sum profit amount, or some investors like to make a certain profit percentage of the after repair value. So to do so, you can input a formula to multiply your percentage by the after repair value amount. Generally, investors usually shoot for around 15 to 20% of the after repair value for their profit. The result of the after repair value in subtracting out all of the total fixed costs, the total repair costs, and your rehab profit is the maximum purchase price that you can offer for the property. Below the maximum purchase price calculation, there's the 70% rule ticker, which gives you a barometer on where your purchase price stands against the widely accepted 70% rule, which is used among real estate investors and rehabbers. Below the 70% rule ticker, you'll find your additional profit results and calculated returns on your investments. The investment breakdown at the bottom gives you a breakdown of the amount of financing and cash that will be required to fund the rehab project. The total project costs are all the project costs on the project, including your buying costs, your holding costs, your selling costs and financing costs, your repair costs, and the purchase amount to purchase a property. Your total capital needed is essentially the upfront capital needed to fund all of the project costs. Now you will notice that the capital needed is different from the total project costs. This is because the capital needed does not include your selling costs. Selling costs are generally paid for out of the proceeds of the sale when you sell the property, so they are not actually incurred up front. So you don't actually need the capital up front to fund the selling cost expenses. Your funding amount is the amount of outside funding that you're receiving from your lenders or your partners, which is set up on the financing setup sheet. Your total cash outlay is then calculated by taking the total capital needed and subtracting your funding that you receive. So that's a quick overview of the maximum purchase price analysis, but what if you have a known purchase price and want to calculate the profit? If you already know your purchase price and want to calculate your profit, you can change the drop-down menu at the top to Profit Selection. This will change the Rehab Analyzer and analysis settings to calculate the profit based upon a known purchase price. Once we change the setting, the steps change to include a known purchase price cell, and the profit becomes the calculated result. So let's say that we think we can buy the property for $80,000, or maybe we've got the property under contract for $80,000. We input that into the known purchase price cell, and then the Rehab Analyzer will calculate the profit based upon that known purchase price. So as you can see, the Rehab Analyzer is a very powerful and flexible tool that you can use to quickly analyze all of the project costs to help you determine the maximum purchase price that you should offer for a property and calculate your project's profitability. We thank you for watching this video tutorial. If you have any additional questions, feel free to shoot us an email or give us a call.